Happy Valentine's Day. Where you at, baby girl? You are. Okay. Well, I think blastoff starts at 7. But like I said, we're boat 211, so it's going to be a while. But Mike and I are standing here on the dock waiting on you. You got that boy? How's he doing? Sleepyhead like his daddy? No? Good. That's great. All right. Well, I love you. Be careful. I'll see you when you get here. Alrighty. Hey, happy Valentine's Day. Okay, love you, sweetie. All right, bye. Valentine's.
What'd you get her?
Nothing. Every day is Valentine's Day for us. We don't do Valentine's Day. I mean, because we don't have to have that kind of stuff to show our love for one another. But I might take her to Waffle House on our anniversary this year, because I think this is 15-year anniversary. So
to the Waffle House on
I think so. Yep, I think so. Yeah. Shout out to George Bruno for that. That's great advice. If you got a woman that is okay with going to Waffle House instead of some kind of fancy Ruth's Chris or something like that, that's the one. So find you a woman that's okay with Waffle House and you'll be okay. So tomorrow is Toyota Series Stop 1 in the Central Division, Gunnersville Lake, right? It's February the 14th. What's the temp going to be tomorrow? It's in the 30s, right? Cold. So it's going to be chilly. It's been warm. We're on the kind of the back side of a front, right? Yeah. Tomorrow we're not going to have any wind. We're going to have tons of sunshine. So Derek, what do you think that's going to do to the bike tomorrow?
Top water all day.
Top water all day, like a frog?
Yep.
Frog all day, okay. Water temp is in the, what's water temp right now?
50s.
50s?
Low 50s.
Frog, okay, frog. Steve, what is it?
I'm going to skip the frog and probably go with a trap or a chatterbait or a jerkbait.
So it's Gunnersville, right?
Yeah,
So
Gunnersville.
it's trap, it's chatterbait, it's grass.
Grass.
Right, so.
Yeah. Swim baits, stuff like that.
I'm telling you, you need the duck.
What, Steve, what do you think it's going to take? What do you think it's going to take to make the cut? And what do you think it's going to take to win?
To make the top 25 cut,
Top 25 cut.
16 a day.
16 a day, boater side. All right, what about
Boater
coast side?
side.
Since I'm fishing on the coast side, what do you think about coast side?
12 a day.
12 a day to make the cut?
Yeah. 12 will make the cut.
Okay. All right, what do you think it's going to take to win?
On the pro side, I think it'll take mid 60s to win the tournament.
Mid 60s.
You know,
So that's
65,
a 20.
66,
So
22 a
21,
day.
22,
22 a day.
22 a day.
I think somebody might crack 30 and then 20 and then 15 or 16 or something like that. But there's going to be a big bag that kind of coasts somebody to a victory.
So somebody will probably have a big lead day one, you think?
Maybe not a big lead, but they're gonna, somebody the guy who doesn't have a 27 or something might catch 17 the next day.
You think there is definitely a good chance we're going to see a dirty 30 this week, though, don't you think?
In a 260 boat tournament, somebody could catch 30.
I think so too.
Or
Derek?
high 20s.
High 20s. Derek, what do you think?
I don't agree with that at all.
You don't worry about it?
I don't think it's going to be a dirty 30 Wade.
Oh, okay.
I don't think anybody's going to break 60. I think it's going to be tough.
Really? And what do you think? What do you think is going to make it so tough? Specifically, like weather, just where the fish are, or
Pressure.
pressure, boat pressure,
Yep.
or fishing pressure?
It's more people than the BFL had.
Yep.
It's more time on the water because all these guys are putting in $1,700 to pay to play.
Yep.
So they've all put in 5 days of practice. So it's been beat up.
Yeah, there was a ton of guys here during the BFL practicing.
Yep. So,
So there was three. There was.
it's going to fish a little less remarkable because of all that.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
What about watercolor and current? What do you think that's going to do?
A lot of places got washed out.
Now, what do you mean when you say washed out? What does that mean exactly? To somebody
The
who
red
might not
mud.
know,
The
just means the mud got real
culverts
muddy.
are spitting out red mud. The main river is spitting out red mud. So that means that takes 30-40% of the areas and just flushes them down the drain.
Yeah. Are y'all seeing a bunch of floating eelgrass in some of these areas?
Well, the wind changes that.
So if it
Like
blows
all
one
reds
day,
was choked
tomorrow
out
you
with
get-
floating grass because it's got 12 million coots in it.
Yeah.
And then we got those winds, and today it was
fine.
good.
Yeah.
So it just depends.
So do you tend to look for areas that, you know, when you look at the weather and you look at the wind and you see, okay, we're getting a west wind, say, so the wind's going to blow all that eelgrass across to the east side. I need to go look because on day 2 we're going to have east winds that's going to blow all that eelgrass back to the west side. Do we take that into account when we practice and try to figure out
I do.
that kind of stuff too?
And it doesn't blow it out. What I have found is it doesn't blow the loose eelgrass out. It actually seems to make the loose eelgrass make like lanes of eelgrass. You'll
Yeah,
see,
I've
you'll
seen
see
that.
it like
I've
little
seen
strips.
Yeah.
And what I do is I fish in between those strips. You're able to fish an area that was just loose pieces everywhere. You're able to fish it because you can fish in between those strips.
And it seems like it changes every year. It's just more eelgrass, or it chokes out, you know, some of the other stuff.
I
or-
always found it funny that the coots eat the eelgrass,
Yep.
but they don't eat the stuff that's floating on the top.
They just eat the root wad.
They're just
That's what they're eating.
They're just going for the root wad
They're,
on
eating
bottom.
the, they're
Okay.
eating the root. Yep.
That
Yeah,
makes
'cause,
sense.
a lot of people call that eelgrass coot grass because that's what they do. They pull it up and then they eat that root wad, and the tops are left.
What they leave.
Yeah. And I think another reason why there's so much of it floating is, if you think about it, you know, back in the day, this lake had tons of, lot more matted grass and so many more locations. Well, back then, you know, if you had half a brain and you were running a boat, didn't matter if you were fishing or if you were pleasure boating or whatever, you wasn't going to run your boat through that mat, right? So you went around all that stuff. Well, now those mats are gone, and so there's eelgrass there that doesn't reach the surface. So a lot of boats, whether it be bass boats with hydraulic jack plates or pleasure boaters in the summertime, they run right through that stuff and they chop it up. And so there's that's why, you know, when the water's clear, you pull it in and you see all those stripes in it, right? We're trolling motors, of course, but you know, some of these big motors, because I've had pleasure boats run between me and the bank.
Yeah.
You know, because they can't see any grass, and I guess they don't have, or they don't pay attention to mapping or whatever. But so I got to catch 12 pounds a day. Is that
To
what we're
make the
thinking?
cut.
That's what. Yeah.
But to
Well, I
make a
mean-
check is different. You might have to catch 10.
You want to show some of the viewers some of the secret lures you got sitting right here?
Let me see. No, I better keep that one under lid. But I mean, I'm just throwing regular stuff, right? Chatterbait, couple chatterbaits, couple of liplesses, jerkbait. You know, I'm kind of showing these fast, so I don't want to let too many secrets out of the bag. You know, because it's a big deal for a guy in the back, because he's got to, you know, guy in the back's got to change it up a little bit, right? So, and I always freak out during this part. I mean, I get all tore up the night before a tournament, making sure, do I have this? Do I have that? Have I got plenty of this? What if I need this? What if we do this? What if we go here? And I just end up freaking out. So these boys are trying to calm me down, and it's helping. It's helping. I only need 4 rods, right?
Yep.
But like I said, then what if, right? What if?
Retie something else on with the what if.
Yeah,
Need
just
one
retie.
more.
I need one more rod, don't I? All right.
And you know which one it is?
Do you know? Mm-hmm. You do?
I know what
Big bait?
No.
Swim bait.
A Kitech. I need a Kitech. I've got Kitechs in the bag. So if I get somewhere where I need to throw one, I've got a rod I can throw it on.
You can put on the Zepco demon.
I can put a Doc Demon in my pants leg, you know, like a old hog leg rifle, or you know, like back in the Western days, a Dirty Harry type situation. All right, well, you've heard it right here. 22 pounds a day,
We'll win.
and you said what? To win?
To win, I'm guessing 57.
57. So, God, I can't do that
19
math,
a day.
man. 19 a day. All right. Well, you heard it here, folks. 2 of the best boys in the biz, Steve Lopez, Derik Hudson. Let's be clear. All right. So the question is, in a tournament that is not a team tournament, but you have a co-angler, if the boater is relying specifically on forward-facing sonar,
Yes.
is it a disadvantage to the co-angler? Now, you had an excellent point that I had not considered. You know, I grew up as a co-angler, right?
Yeah.
And it seems like every time I get behind somebody who's using forward-facing sonar, it is a struggle for me as a co-angler. And I'm not saying that every time somebody is paired up behind that they're not going to catch them. Obviously, there's going to be times when a guy's looking at a school, right?
Yeah.
And so that school typically is going to be positioned in a way that the co-angler can cast in that general direction. Because if I'm not mistaken, in the Toyota series and in the BFLs, there is no rule that states that we cannot, I think their wording is, they use the term compete for water.
Okay.
Okay. Now, back in the day when the FLW had co-anglers, okay, it specifically said in their rules that you were not allowed to compete for water, which means as a co-angler, I can't throw to the front. I can't throw to the same area that the boater is fishing, okay? Mm-hmm. That was specifically spelled out, but it is not spelled out in the Toyotas or the BFLs, okay? So, but there is an etiquette, right? So if a guy is looking at them, and of course I know there's tons of different scenarios, so I'm trying to ask this question in a general manner, right? Because obviously there's different situations, different whatever, right? Are you never going to catch a fish behind a guy doing that? No, of course not. So, just generally speaking, statistically overall, whatever, however you want to say it, is it a disadvantage?
That's why I said I'm conflicted on my answer.
Yeah.
Because my experience, co-anglers don't do very good behind live scopers.
Right.
When I'm live scoping, most of the time my co-anglers don't do good.
Right.
But, like I said, from the actual reality of it, if you were fishing behind a live scoper, you know you're around fish.
That's a great
He's
point.
not
I've
seeing,
never thought
he's
of
not seeing fish. He's moving on.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And then to pair that up with, I have a good buddy, Scotty Howard, who has won in the co-angler side several times. Mm-hmm. Very accomplished co-angler. Okay? He has won one time when they were chasing topwater fish. Mm-hmm. What he did is he put a super heavy topwater on a reel that he could bomb twice as far as his boater, and he had fish that his boater would see blow up, and his boater's like, I can't cast that far. Gotta go, boom. And that's how he won that event. Mm. He had another event that he was fishing behind bidding fish. How many times have you heard people say, oh man, from co-angler side, I'd hate to be behind a bid fisherman. I'd hate to be behind a bid fisherman.
That's right.
He won that event because the bid fisherman would pass empty bids that the bid fisherman wasn't seeing fish in, mm-hmm. but something made that bid. Mm-hmm. My buddy Scotty would pitch over in the bed, and he would just
sort of check it.
No, he would pitch over in the bed, and he would just peel his line out, and he just let his line just flake off, and the boater would go until he saw a bidding fish, and he'd stop, and then my buddy would flip his bail over, check it. And most of the time, the fish already had it. And that's how he won that tournament.
Wow.
So you can think of it as a disadvantage, and and that's what most people would do. They get stuck behind a live scoper on the co-angler side. Yeah. Their mental game goes down. They start sitting in this seat like,
woe is me.
I'm stuck behind a boater.
I've been there, man.
Doing the live scope thing.
I've been there.
But the way I see it, if I was the co-angler being put in that position, one, I'd be learning how to cast more than 100 feet, which is not very hard, really. Right. I mean, there's a lot of heavy baits and certain setups that you can cast over 100 feet.
Sure, you can downsize your line. You can, they make reels with the DC. They got the electronic brakes.
Most live scopers are shooting 80 to 100 feet, and they're always doing that back and forth, back and forth. So they're only shooting 100 feet this way, 100 feet this way. So if you can cast further than 100 feet and you go straight outside or straight out the other side, you're going to be in fresh water that he didn't scope. And if he's around fish, there's chances there's fish in those areas. Yeah. So that's the way I've looked at it. And if I was a co-angler, that's what I'd be trying to bank on. Yeah. And then they're not keeping secrets from you because they think they're catching the fish. You know, they're getting their fish, and they are.
Yeah.
So you ask them, what do you see in the fish?
Yeah.
Most scopers going to tell you, I'm catching them 5 to 20 feet under the surface. Well, then you just, as a co-angler, now you even
count it down.
You even have exactly how to catch them.
Yeah.
Tie a swim bait on, tie an Alabama rig on, tie a jerk bait on that runs that 5 to 20 feet, and just make bomb casts. And now you're running in the right depth around fish. I think that's an advantage. That's my perspective.
Yeah. Now, honestly, I had not really considered, and maybe I just let all that get in my head.
Yeah.
And prevented me from sort of seeing a bigger picture.
That is the topic of conversation right now.
Oh, it is. It's like
Co-anglers
probably the number
are
one.
in a disadvantage behind a scoper.
Now, so
But
with
I'm a scoper. I'm a
Right.
boater.
right.
I have not fished a single event ever that I've done good with scoping, and I caught every fish I looked at.
Oh, of course.
So I'm leaving fish.
Yeah.
There are fish that are not acting right. There are fish that they went down, and I'm like, well, I'll just keep going to the next one. Mm-hmm. So there's always fish that I'm leaving behind my co-angler could pick up.
Yeah.
I think it's a mental thing. They get stuck in, I'm behind a scoper.
Yeah. So we're going to agree to disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
Because my question is
No, I agree.
overall.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
I agree
on
with
average.
you. I agree with you.
That's where the conflict comes in. Yeah.
I agree with you
Yeah.
100% on your end, and I think there's just another piece of the puzzle that can
Yeah.
be unlocked.
Well, that's good because I'm going to keep that in mind because that's a point I had not considered.
You're right.
really.
Statistically, the times I've been on a real good scope and bite, my co-anglers have not done good behind me.
Okay, so now with that being said,
Well, take it back. I won last year. Mm-hmm. All scope and bite. My co-angler won behind me. Because
Okay.
once I got my fish,
yep,
I started saying 1 o'clock, 40
Yeah.
feet out. 3 o'clock, 70 feet out. I started doing that because I got my fish.
yeah,
And I knew I needed bigger dots than what I had before. So
Right.
I would tell him if that was like a 2-pound dot, I'd say, cast that, cast over there, cast over there. And that's how he caught his fish behind me.
yeah. So okay. So with that being said, how many boaters do you think are willing to do something like that? Do you think that guys do that often, or is that a rarity? Are you a exception to the rule, so to speak, in that regard? Do you think? And maybe a multi-day tournament might affect that answer, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're having to sort of save fish or whatever,
Yeah.
then maybe you don't
Well, that
do
was a
that
multi-day.
quite so much.
That was a multi-day event.
Okay. So certainly on the last day, if there's tons of fish,
Yeah.
then hopefully everybody catches them. But
Yeah.
would maybe not do that if it was day one and or whatever?
It's just gonna be situational.
Yeah. See, and I
Some
think
peop-
that's a big thing with this. Is
Some people are gonna be super pressured and feel like they're not around good enough fish to go multiple days, and they don't want their co-angler to catch fish to hurt them. You know, that's gonna be people like that.
Yeah, yeah. Again, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but it is a major topic right now, right? And not just between co-anglers and boaters, but also in like the BPT, Bass Pro Tour. You know, a lot of guys are kind of fussing, the old school guys. You know, there's tons of fish being caught on bodies of water where there had never been, you know, not just the technology's new, but on a body of water like Okeechobee. How many people, I mean, now it's a little different, but say 2 years ago, how many people would have ever thought to go to Okeechobee over the last 3 or 4 years and scope Okeechobee and win?
That's another thing.
Right.
So that's another hot topic right now, is how scoping has changed the viewing.
Hey y'all.
Yes.
Going to bed.
You're going to bed. Steve Lopez is going to bed.
Man, you
Ladies and
can't
gentlemen, good night, my brother. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank
what,
you.
What boat number?
What are you guys talking about?
We're talking about live scope and
Yes.
co-anglers.
All right.
And
And now we're to live scope and the viewership behind it.
Yeah.
yeah. Real quick, you're going to bed.
Yeah.
You look sleepy.
No, I'm good.
But if you're
I
going to be
should have
dumb,
had my hat.
if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
Hats,
No,
if
I'm
you
good.
want one.
I'm good.
So real quick, the question is, overall, generally speaking, do you think it's a disadvantage to a co-angler to be fishing in the boat with a guy who is specifically using forward-facing sonar?
It depends what type of forward-facing sonar he's using.
Okay, so we know that every event is
How he's
situational,
using
right?
it, it's situational.
But so with that being said, we're talking generally. If you polled all 260 boaters tomorrow right, and co-anglers.
Not on this body of water. It depends on the body of water.
Okay.
And it depends on how they're using their forward-facing sonar. Smith Lake, yes, I think it's a big disadvantage for a co-angler.
Okay.
On Gunnersville, I don't think it's a big advantage.
So as a co-angler, that's the answer I'm looking for, right? Because I'm a co-angler, right? So I want to fuss.
I mean,
right?
I think you can do well. My buddy last year got live scoped out with a guy, and he threw an A-rig all day, blindly towards the bridges, and outfished his pro.
That's incredible.
Caught 16 pounds as a co-angler last year, and
That was
in,
here?
6th place last year.
Yeah.
So, as long as you can hit something, you can count down your A-rig, you can get away with that. Smith Lake, I think it's a big disadvantage
Okay, so
if you're live scoping 150 feet of water.
since that was the answer I was looking for, here's my next question. We're going to get back to the viewership, and we're going to talk about shallow water scope and deep whatever. But the rules say that neither the co-angler or the boater, right, they are prohibited from putting their the co-angler's prohibited from putting the boater at a disadvantage. Okay. Do you think that in a case, say Smith Lake or some body of water where it's going to be a little harder for a guy in the back behind scope to catch them, do you think it's okay, or do you think it's the right thing to do to say something about that, or does a guy just suck it up and deal with it?
They just
knowing, especially because I've had guys do this too. I've had guys tell me over the phone the night before, man, I don't know, it's going to be kind of tough, I'm scoping. So right there, he knows right off the bat that the guy in the back is going to be struggling because of the way he's doing. Now you can't possibly know for a fact. I understand that. But statistically, right, he's probably going to be struggling because of the technique. And in that case, does that warrant some sort of conversation with the director in regards to that rule?
No, because the technology is available.
Does anything have to do with like just
back in the day? They used to put you up on the bank and parallel you.
Yeah.
Would you rather be parallel, or could you actually make a cast and?
Well, is paralleling, is that, if they do that to you, is that putting you at a disadvantage, and does that warrant
No,
that
because you
conversation?
can still cast out. Look how many fish are being caught out now.
Okay, all right.
Live scope has changed that. There's just fish everywhere, and live scope has shown. Forward-facing sonar has
Goes
shown
back to
us
what I was
that.
saying.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, exactly.
amazing how like we thought, oh, fish move up in the spring and then they go back there. Fish are just always out there.
Yeah.
that's what we're learning.
So that's what I was
and
saying
you just
before
have
you
to,
came
as
out
a
here.
co-angler, you have to learn how to count down your baits now.
Yeah.
You
That's
have
exactly
to know
what
if
I
the,
said.
you have to see if that pro is catching a fish right as it hits the water. That
Yeah.
means the fish are right under the surface, or if he's demiking it 15 feet down, then you got to count your swim bait down and give yourself a shot. And all you need is 4 shots as a co-angler a day, and you get paid.
And
That's what I said.
It's just a different tournament.
Yeah.
I said that
all it
if
is.
I was put into a co-angler position with what I know now, one super long casting
Long
would be
bond
a
cast.
requisite, a
Absolutely.
prerequisite right out the gate, because I know they're only shooting 180 to 100 feet,
Maybe 120.
and I can cast way further than that with
Yes.
a lot of baits.
Yep.
So that would be number one goal. Second would be asking the boater, what are you keying on? Oh, I see him bait 20 feet down. Well, then I know I need to keep my baits 20 feet down. And I said, also, I see it personally as an advantage in the fact that I know my boater's not putting me on unproductive water. If he's not seeing fish, we're moving. And that's the thing we used to have to deal with back in the day, is I don't know how many times as a co-angler back in the day that I hop point to point to point to point to point to point. We never caught anything, and it's like, was we even around fish? But now with forward-facing sonar, you know you're around fish. The boater wouldn't be there if you weren't around fish.
Yeah, it makes great sense. I really didn't consider that. And, you know,
You
both
just
you
have
guys...
to fish differently as a co-angler. You
Yep.
just have to count down baits. You have to.
You know, both of you guys, we were all three at Smith Lake for the Toyota Series last year. And I had, as a co-angler, I was fishing as a co-angler. And I had a great first day. And that's exactly what I was doing, was I was watching my boater, and he was throwing a spinning rod, right? So I would watch to see when he would click his bail over.
Because you know
And
he's
then, and if
on
he,
a fish.
yeah, well, yeah, or he was at least letting that bait fall, right?
Like 7 seconds or whatever,
Yeah. And so, or I would just watch, if he threw it out and then clicked it immediately, I would wait and see how long it was before he started to turn it. And then I would try to mimic his depth and mimic the turns on his handle, because most spinning reels are, a real low ratio, so they're all pretty close. So, all right, guys, Derik.
All right.
Good luck tomorrow, brother.
Appreciate it, brother.
Steve,
You too.
get you some rest. Good luck. Look, he left his hook up. I was about to just run him on in there. Go get this thing parked. What's up, Valentine?
Baby.
Hey, buddy. Buddy and buddy. Hey, man. Hey, buddy. It is. It's gorgeous. Hey, nice glasses, dude. Where'd you get them? Derik Hudson. A great dude.
This episode is brought to you by Frydaddy Hunting Blinds, Whitetail Rage, DeKalb Animal Hospital, Black's Tree Service, Campbell Construction and Custom Timber Works, Shedville Whitetail, HBT Smokers, and Empire Bell Bonding.